Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one's going to be for volume 23 of the manga. This one is titled Predicament, and here is our 3-in-1 volume cover page. This one's actually really nice. I like the kind of focus on the line art a lot, and like there's not a lot of extra detail apart from the line art, and it makes it look very kind of clean. And it fits for this volume as well, because Kiba and Naruto's fight is a decent focus of this volume, so that's pretty nice. So yeah, volume 23 covers another 9 chapters. We have 200 to 208, according to plan, miscalculation, 3 wishes, Sakon's secret, Ukon's prowess, Kiba's decision, predicament, deadlocked, and fake out. So this volume I think is a lot better than the last two. My issue with the last two was that the volume overall focused so heavily on one fight that it kind of took away overall from like what the plot is at this point in time. This one I felt was a lot better, even though there was a lot of focus on fights. We set up basically 3 fights, got a little bit of one of them. And then a kind of decent amount into 2 other fights. Like it's transitioned from just being one-on-one, one after the other, showing us one fight, then the next one, to actually having multiple going on at the same time. And there was a lot more kind of cutaways where we weren't just focusing on one fight for a really long time. We were kind of going like, okay, here's this stage of this fight. Now let's see what Orochimaru thinks of the Sound Ninja 4. Now let's see what Kimimaro is doing, and so on. So I thought it worked out quite well, and then the how different the fights are, of course, really added to it, in that Sakon and Ukon against Kiba and Akamaru was this really interesting fight, because Kiba's style is, it's similar to Naruto's, and that's all about kind of clones, but it's more about, teamwork between him and Akamaru, and utilizing this kind of these beast transformations, and like he has a new ability, so we get to see that. And then Sakon obviously revealing that he actually has a brother, and there's like 2 of them, Sakon and Ukon, and it's this really nice kind of double battle that ends up playing out, and it's it's Kiba really putting himself on the line, and in the middle of his fight kind of having to care for Akamaru as well as just defeating his opponent. And then Shikamaru's fight against Tayuya is again very different, because it's more of a standard Shikamaru fight, and that's very much focused on tactics, and Tayuya is similar to Shikamaru in that she also focuses on tactics as well. But you see his plan, you see a lot more thinking involved in that fight. It's less up close stuff, and it's more of Shikamaru as the leader being kind of challenged, but also demonstrating his own individual fighting prowess. So it worked quite well just to see that, because the Shikamaru fight also was Tayuya insulting Shikamaru for the way that this whole mission has gone, and that she's criticizing him as a leader, sacrificing all of his men just to save one person. Like, is it really worth it if they all die? And Shikamaru just having confidence that as far as he's aware, no one has died, and they've done their job and have defeated the Sound Ninja 4. And then, yeah, the other one obviously is Naruto and Kimimaro, who arrives on the scene. We see him, we get introduced to his Kekkei Genkai, how powerful he is, and a bit of his personality, setting up, Sasuke's in the box. Confirming absolutely to Naruto here that the reason Orochimaru wants Sasuke is to use him as his next vessel for his immortality jutsu. So that means Naruto has something to fight for, but as much as he pulls out all the stops here initially against Kimimaro, it doesn't seem like he's getting anywhere. So very interesting volume in that we don't finish any of these fights right now, but it's really nice just to get a bit of each of 3 of them and kind of set up the next volume to like resolve maybe 1 or 2 of them and then continue on. But yeah, let's get into some specifics here. So yeah, basically, like I was saying at the end of the last volume, they were very subtly, they hadn't quite set up that it was going to be Sakon against Kiba, but Kiba was more of a focus towards the very end of last volume, and that continues here. He's the first one to really put an attack in against Tayuya and Sakon. Sakon steps up, and the our team, Shikamaru, Naruto, Kiba, put in a nice kind of teamwork performance here. Some clever use of transformation, shadow clones. Naruto nearly gets a Rasengan in. Sakon immediately uses the curse mark, the first state of the curse mark, and basically after just a little bit, bomb goes off, and it basically separates Sakon and Kiba from everyone else. They fall down into a ravine, separating them from the rest in a kind of different way. In that, what happened previously was that Choji just basically, stood in front of Jirobo and stopped him from coming at them. Neji effectively did the same with Kidomaru. Here, though, it's kind of different in that it was more of a kind of multi-person, battle, and then this explosion went off and just accidentally separated them into this fight. So I kind of like that it's not just this direct thing where everyone is choosing to kind of stay behind and fight and force these one-on-one fights. That this one, was maybe about to happen like that, but it actually happened more accidentally. But basically, as soon as that happens and they're separated, it seems like Naruto and Shikamaru have the advantage over just Tayuya, who's also trying to keep Sasuke in the box, and they get Sasuke back basically in the box, but then Kimimaro arrives and takes the box away, and so this is the one thing that Shikamaru hadn't planned for, another enemy arriving on the scene, and so the only thing he can think to do is basically just like, I'll hold off to you, Naruto, you go after Sasuke, and take this guy out. That this was the only thing he could do. There wasn't time to come up with a clever plan here. It's 5-on-5 now. We have to hope we just win all our fights. So it's this kind of desperate move, but ultimately it's 1 Chunin and 4 Genin against people who we never get their ranks, but are implied to be strong Chunin, if not getting close to Jonin level of character here, especially when they use their kind of second stage curse mark. But and then with Kimimaro, his design very interesting, but very much similar to Orochimaru, the whole giant rope thing around the waist, and you can sense there's something different about him, the kind of way his hair parts and stuff like that. The way he talks to them is very much that, like, I used to be the leader of the Sound Ninja 4. And then you kind of get this really interesting kind of dialogue from Kabuto and Orochimaru, who's now in his new body, of just that, oh, how differently things would have gone if we had Kimimaro during the attack on Konoha. Like, if it actually was the Sound Ninja 5 against Sarutobi, you get the idea that, like, the 4 of them would have done the barrier, and it would have been Orochimaru and Kimimaro against Sarutobi, and that would have ended differently because Kimimaro is that powerful. Like, Orochimaru had such hopes for Kimimaro as his next vessel, but he became sick somehow, and he's no longer of use as a strong kind of vessel. And you can see that he is kind of on the bad guy side of things, and that he's like threatening his own teammates. He's just like, to you, do this, or I'll kind of end you. And that's where we get the kind of Shikamaru fight set up, and as Naruto chases after Kimimaro. And it's interesting because they never really name his technique. If you look on the wiki and stuff like that, it's this really long word. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce beginning with S about what exactly his Kekkei Genkai is called. The English translation is said to be like a dead bone pulse or something like that. It's just a little bit weird that they'd never really give it like a name or anything like that. That is like this is like just like the bone Kekkei Genkai or something like that. Something that's like simple to the point as that, but really cool technique. They show a lot more of like I suppose the gruesomeness of this technique here than in the anime. In the anime, it's more of just like he's kind of able to just like form his bones through his skins without kind of you seeing any of the inner parts of his body. But in the manga here, they actually show him kind of like the bones like ripping through his skin. It's just that by the nature of his powers, it instantly heals over, so like you don't really get too much of a focus on that. But when he's like ripping out like his shoulder blade to kind of get the sword out, like it's a bit kind of crazy the way he kind of goes about showing it. But it is a very cool ability, just that like he has this ability to basically create, take out, and just manipulate his own skeletal structure and create swords, um, establishing that also part of this technique is that his bone structure is stronger than steel, so it is actually like super effective weaponry as well. Plus, he's kind of like Sasuke levels of skilled in terms of taijutsu, as we see when Naruto does the insane number of shadow clones and Kimimaro just kind of destroys them all. But yeah, we see a little bit of Ninetales stuff happening with Naruto as well. So he's in the mode where like the the fox markings, the three whisker things on his face are very much emphasized. The eyes are going crazy. The kind of teeth. He's basically got channeling some of the Ninetales chakra here to enhance his skills, but it doesn't seem to be quite enough against Kimimaro. But we don't really see the end of that fight. We just kind of cut away from that, and we get I suppose we get the 3/4 point of both the Shikamaru and the Kiba fight. In that with Kiba, it's this interesting thing where like it ultimately comes down to this idea that Kiba's new technique is this wolf fang over fang, where he basically transforms himself and Akamaru into this giant two-headed kind of wolf dog thing, and then he uses this crazy powerful fang over fang technique. But it's so powerful and spins so fast that he can't actually see when he uses it. So they do this other technique beforehand called dynamic marking, which is just Akamaru able to on command mark someone with his scent, and they can smell while they're still doing the technique. So that's how they aim the wolf fang over fang, and it basically chops Sakon and Udon in half. But they survive this because it's revealed that Sakon and Udon's technique is that they can effectively manipulate their cells, in that like they can transfer their cells into another person and then basically kind of manifest themselves as part of that person in a cell fashion. Like Udon, I think, appears on Kiba's shoulder like as part of it, and now obviously they're able to separate from each other, take them each other back into each other and so on. It's a really unique technique, and it kind of highlights why Kabuto and Orochimaru both call Sakon the strongest of the same Ninja Four, in that this technique is really powerful. It's just that the person using it doesn't necessarily have the best personality to make the most use out of it. Because Kiba manages to get out of this by stabbing himself, which in turn injures, Sakon, who's part of his body now, and just the desperation on Kiba to, the implication being that if he loses now, Akamaru will be killed. So he's kind of fighting and putting himself so much on the line to protect Akamaru, but also to hold back Sakon and defeat him. It's just it's kind of highlighting just that like so many of our characters have to push themselves to the absolute limits to take on these characters who have the curse mark. Just kind of, I suppose, showing you that at this point in time, like at this stage in the series, we are dealing with a lot of very young characters, where even the same Ninja Fours, the villains, are utilizing like the curse mark to enhance their powers before they're like experienced enough to just use those type of powers, and all of our characters, except basically like Neji so far has like had to like destroy themselves to win their fight, and kind of use something where like they go beyond their limits. Like Choji had to use the pills. Neji won his fight, but like he had to basically take damage on purpose. And Kiba takes that to the next level, where he's actively having to like hurt himself to take out his opponent. But even then, it's not over yet. And it's interesting in that we effectively get like the basic more towards the end of the Shikamaru fight, which started after Kiba's fight, than we do with Kiba. But here we're getting to the stage where obviously our characters are kind of struggling here, in that with Shikamaru and Tayuya, what happens is that she is controlling her summoned kind of monster people with her flute, and she's guiding them around the place. Shikamaru managed to like analyze this and then kind of plan out this technique of where like he uses all of his ninja tools that he has left, and fires them at her in a specific pattern to where he can kind of look at her and her flute movements and kind of understand how she controls them. And then as part of this, it is, a way to get himself into position. Like one of them had like a flashbang on it, and he uses another kunai to activate that flashbang. Gets up close, that extends all the shadows because there's so much light, and he kind of gains control of the situation. But even then, he was planning ahead, and it's just a really clever like sequence of kind of events where like his whole plan was never just to gain control of her summoning monsters. It was to kind of get information about her that like, oh, your flute is your only weapon. You don't like to use, like kunais or anything like that. And so when she goes like second state and kind of gains control again and has kind of Shikamaru in the genjutsu, he gains the advantage again because just before he's kind of caught up in the genjutsu, he just basically throws a kunai down right in between him and Tayuya, basically asking her almost that like, oh look, you have me, you don't have any other weapons or obvious ways to finish me off. Here's my own kunai. Here's me asking you to get close to me, and she does that, and he snaps his own finger to get himself out of her genjutsu, and then manages to get her in the shadow strangle jutsu, and that's kind of where we are right now. It's just this struggle of like the sheer power of Tayuya in her second state curse mark versus is Shikamaru's new technique, the strangle jutsu, going to be good enough, and they're just locked in this kind of like battle of chakra. And as far as we're aware, Shikamaru is probably going to lose that because he doesn't necessarily have the most chakra. Whereas Kiba, where he's left in his fight, is like he's basically had to stab himself twice to get an advantage here. He's basically temporarily defeated Ukon. So he's up against basically Sakon just on his own, but Sakon isn't really injured. So he's basically, like running away, being pursued, and like it's just setting up that Kiba especially is in a very bad position. Akamaru is kind of injured as well, and then Shikamaru is, kind of has an advantage right now, but we know he's kind of prone to sort of running out of chakra a little bit and not having as much as, perhaps you think he should have to gain the exact advantage needed. But that's where we basically ended, and it's just like these bad situations for just a lot of our characters. And it makes for a really good volume because it wasn't just one fight. I keep coming back to that. It's just like I did have a problem with the previous volumes for just being so focused on one fight. But this one covering multiple characters, different approaches, was really well done because, like I said with Shikamaru, I liked that what was happening in their fight was one, it was a typical Shikamaru fight, and that a lot of analysis of techniques, a lot of interesting plans being enacted. Shikamaru aware that like, oh, I can see you're a tactician as well, you must be good at chess. But here's a rule of chess you perhaps don't know about, like, I get this if this happens, and then on the other side of that, you have her kind of trying to toy with him a bit by criticizing his leadership skills. In that, look at the way look at what's happened here. Basically, you came in as a squad of 5, but now you've just been one-on-one into these fights that you realistically can't win. You're sacrificing your men just to help the mission succeed. Is that really a successful mission at that point? And it's setting up something pretty big there for Shikamaru in his first role as leader. Like, has he made the right decision here, and like will it all work out? Because as far as we're aware, Choji is on the verge of death, Neji's on the verge of death, Kiba at this point in time is badly injured. I don't think they're quite saying, like he's dying just yet, but Shikamaru definitely is in a position where like if he loses his jutsu, he's gone. And then Kiba's in a bad position, and then Naruto seems a bit overmatched by Kimimaro. So, we're at the stage of the fight where like, okay, the villains are kind of gaining the advantage here with the sudden appearance of Kimimaro, but what else is going to happen? So really really good volume here this time out. It worked out, quite well. So I'm definitely excited to see next volume because like I do like the kind of end couple of sequences of this arc from the anime. So I'm pretty excited to see how the manga executes a lot of these kind of like character appearances and stuff like that coming up. So yeah, maybe I'll have another one of these reviews out this week. Maybe Saturday probably will be when the next one is. But at the same time, it could be tomorrow. I'm just kind of still trying to figure out my videos for this week. But Other than that, that has been the video. And in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this volume, my review, my thoughts, and your own thoughts on the volume as well. But other than that, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.